Working? I think we're live.
Good morning. Hello, welcome to Ramona The Airstream, episode 8. It's kind of crazy that we're on 8 because I was just thinking what episode are we on so that we could type it in the thing. And we're doing 2 episodes a month, which means 8 episodes. Simple math is 4 months. 4 months of progress that we've been working on Ramona, and we've done a lot and we've been working super hard, but there's also part of me that feels like, oh man, 4 months sounds like a long time. Like maybe we should have a lot more to show for 4 months, which is kind of scary. It's one of those things that like you hear about, and I've read so many things people say like, oh, whatever your timeline is, double it. No, triple it. And you like to think that like, oh, that's fun, but that doesn't apply to us. Like we're gonna do it way faster than that. Like we'll be faster. They say double, triple your budget, double, triple your time, and you go, oh no, we're gonna do it like no big thing.
Half the time.
4 months. 4 months, and we're I don't know, things are coming along. They're coming along. But 4 months sounds like a long time.
Yeah. And, belly pan alone. So that's primarily what we've been working on this last week.
No, like weeks, like 3 weeks at least we've been on the belly pan. Long time.
Really?
Yeah. Right, which is exactly what I mean. Like you do this one project, we're like, okay, well next we'll do the belly pan, right? Like, belly pan, 2 words. That's the next project. It doesn't sound like very much to do to say, we gotta take off the belly pan. You just say it like nonchalantly, no big thing.
That's a lot.
We've been on the belly pan for 3 weeks. And we've done other little things in the process, but 3 weeks. And it's not done. We came to some hiccups in the process of the belly pan, which we will tell you about. But point being, one little project that sounds like a little project
Not
can be
project.
like multiple days and times of coming out. And to be fair, we had family visiting last weekend, so we didn't get any work done over the weekend, which is normally where we put in like a good solid work day. But still, 3 weeks.
All right. Well, I must say.
That's a big project.
It is a big project. Yeah, we're doing a video. We were just talking about how it's a really big project.
Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? Big project.
Big project, belly pan.
Belly pan. So, we'll kind of go around, but there's the bottom, right? Oh, that's what I was gonna say. This is probably the hardest project so far.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the worst of all of the things so far. Gutting the interior, although that was a lot of work, and carrying all that stuff out through the trailer. And I thought the interior skins were going to be really bad, and those actually weren't that bad. But the belly pan has been super tough, and I would say primarily because you're working underneath the Airstream, and so like laying on your back on the driveway and scooting around, like I'm sure the sides of my arms and shoulder blades and everything are starting to get calloused from how much I'm just slithering around on my back underneath this thing. And it's not like you can just get like one of those little creeper trays with the wheels that you lay on, because like certain areas, especially this back section, it's only like, I don't know, this much space under there, so you're like right under there with the drill. That said, I mean, we could probably get some wheel ramps and pull it up on some ramps, which I considered, but then I was nervous about like putting just one axle on the ramps and leaving it like that.
I'm sure that this doesn't happen as often
scary
as it does in my brain, but in my brain, like working under things just feels so scary. Like not like this, but like on ramps or jacks or something. Like I have this fear of like it's just gonna come crashing down on my face, which maybe it's not, but I mean it sounds like death if you like had an Airstream on your face.
Yeah, it reminds me of back when I was, probably 17, 18. I had my Chevy S10. I did all kinds of work on that. I remember one time in the driveway, and I had it down at the bottom of the driveway just so I can get a little bit of extra height with the, the angle of the driveway. And I jacked it up, and I didn't have any jack stands, so I put like river rocks and stuff under the truck, and
River rocks. What
small
kind of
little
Jimmy
2x4s.
Ribbon is that? You tell your story. I'm gonna parent.
And was working underneath that thing, and that was sketch. But we got through it, figured it out, made it happen. So anyway, so the belly pan. So there's probably a whole nother, like, I don't know, 500 rivets I've had to drill out, if I had to take a guess, between the belly pan and then all of, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, we'll bring the camera around, but the belly pan is part of it, and then there's these pieces that come up around to the bottom of the Airstream. I think they call them banana wraps. And so you pull all those things off, and then while all of that's getting pulled off, there's insulation in there. So that's the next fun part of the belly pan situation. You're underneath this thing, and as you're pulling these panels off, all this dried up dirt that, who knows how the heck dirt got inside of those panels. Dirt, there's a ridiculous amount of insulation, and I think there were sections where you could visibly see there were definitely like mice living in the insulation, and so they eat through the insulation, and it like breaks it all down, and then they poop in it, of course. So as you're pulling panels off, then you've got dirt, insulation, mouse poop, and all this stuff flying at your face that you're trying to avoid. Again, shimmying around, trying to get your angles right.
I was getting a piece so you could show what the belly pan is.
Careful with that piece. Don't bend it. Those two little pieces are really flimsy.
I'm not bending. I'm just showing.
We're bendy. So this is a piece from the front.
This is belly pan. So when we say belly pan, this is what it is. Big giant sheets of aluminum.
Yeah.
All everywhere.
So this one's from the front. So I don't know. We haven't really discussed this yet, but like you can see, there's like these holes are kind of corroded. There's stuff you can do when you put that on to like fill it, but I don't know. We'll see. A lot of people rip it off and they get new aluminum and new sheets of aluminum underneath there, so we might go that route. The goal was to try to not have to get as much new stuff as possible, but to be able to keep what we have and take it off nicely and keep it in good condition so we can reuse it. But there's definitely some pieces of belly pan that are going to have to be replaced just because they're so damaged. So I don't know, maybe we just do the whole thing.
These are the Christen boys. They've been our helpers. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't pull it over. You can dance to it, but don't pull it down. The boys like Airstream projects because they've spent so much extra time just riding bikes around and being out front, because we're out front and where you live next to a park, so there's lots of extra time of running in the field and riding the bikes all around. You guys like us doing Airstream projects?
So let's pan this camera around and show you kind of some of the stuff, huh? All right, we still live?
We were last time I checked.
I think we're still live.
I don't think you can flip.
What? All right, so
Do you want to go under there? You want me to hold it and you can go under there?
as you can see here, so here's a section, right? We pulled off this banana wrap, so this piece actually still needs to come off. But the main purpose was to pull this off, get the insulation out. I think we've showed that one last time. There's another one here. We'll kind of go around. All around the sides. But let's get... We'll go underneath here for a second. So this is what the bottom looks like with that all ripped off. I can't see this camera. There we go. So like this, for example, this whole section was filled with insulation. So we were taking this off for a couple reasons. I think we mentioned this in the last show, but for one, we want to get all this old insulation out so we could put new insulation in there, and that keeps your floor warm and the cold out. But also we wanted to restore the frame. So there's some rust on here, of course, and we'll work to get all that off. And then there's a paint that you can use that kind of stops any rust and restores it all. So we'll be doing that.
We also needed to take it off to be able to replace the subfloor, to be able to like bolt it in and get to it.
So as you can see, there's this dry rot coming through, which is lovely. So yeah, we've got some subfloor to replace for sure.
You want to show about your dilemma, kind of where we come to a stopping point for the moment on the subfloor?
Yep. This section was a pain in the butt over here. So this is kind of where I'm stuck at right now, and I just posted in our Airstream group that we're a part of to get some answers. But this, there's a sheet here that, so you can, oh yeah, there you go. There's some insulation you can see. Right, so when this thing popped down, I was under there, and this just like poured dirt and all kinds of crap on me. But anyway, this piece goes from about the middle point of the Airstream, and it's one long piece that goes all the way back to the rear bumper. And I've got all the rivets pulled out, and I'm trying to pull this thing out, and it won't come off. So that's where I'm stuck at right now. And from what I'm reading is, I can see this here, it's wedged under this axle, and I figured that it might just be able to pull out of there, but that's not the case. So apparently what you've got to do is back up the rear axle onto some ramps, and then we will have to jack up the front of the Airstream, basically, so these wheels are off. We're gonna have to pull the wheels off and then undo these axles and pull them so they can come down like a couple inches, so then we can pull this out. So
Which we need to determine too if we are
that's
replacing
not cool.
axles.
Yeah, we got to determine if we're replacing axles. So most people, you know, they say they last about 20-30 years. So it's always just like a yes, absolutely, you're replacing your axles. Don't skimp on that unless they have been replaced. And that's the one thing I got to reach out to our past owner. I still got his phone number, but I'm pretty sure he said they just replaced the axles, but I'm not positive. So we're gonna have to figure that out. So anyway, that is that.
Why are you putting leaves in our
Come around over here. Oh, yeah, as you can see, this is not, I mean, this is a,
actually nailing something? You can't send
you know, this area is actually a little bit larger than the back, but being on your back on the driveway, scooting around underneath this thing, not fun, not very comfortable.
work for our nail
Especially all this stuff like right in your face, and then you're drilling, right? Ugh. So let's go check out this back section. I'll show you.
The Airstream is definitely, it's interesting how it's a puzzle. Like, you think you're doing something, and then you realize, like, oh, this piece goes on top of this piece, and this goes on top of that. So you have to get off this to get to that to get to this, and it halts your project sometimes.
Yep. So, you know, we pull this out. So you'll see, right? Back bumper, that piece all the way down to there. And as you, oh yeah, this is the section that had all the nasty mice and stuff. So, I mean, you can tell, like, that's not just pink insulation, right? Like, all those little white pieces, it's like bedding or something. You can actually see right down there some mice poop all up in there. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. So this was the other reason we were pulling this off, is we needed to get access to our tanks. So this is a gray tank, and there's another kind of extends all the way over there. So we want to get access to that to check out the condition. This is, you can see here is a lovely crack in the fitting for all of your sewage and stuff to just come leaking right out. That's great. That obviously needs to be fixed. Yeah.
To be fair, we never really used that, so we weren't on the regular leaking sewage.
Probably not being heard underneath the Airstream.
Oh. I can't see. Oh wait, it goes this way? I'm filming
Can you
the
flip
yard.
it?
I can't see it. There's like so much glare on your phone.
There we go.
Yeah, so anyway,
Bam.
we kind of ran into a standstill with the belly pan because, well, Tom told you why. The axles and the layers, and they get this off to get off that. So the good news is that there's like 1,010 things to do. So even when we get to a point where like, oh, well, we can't do any more to this right now because we have to figure out what to do, and we need a part, and we need to buy more jacks, or we need to research the axle, like whatever reason we get to a standstill, we just do other stuff till we figure it out, because there's a lot of other stuff to do. So in the meantime, we've been working on dents. Dents were kind of next on the list. The thing with the dents is that ideally you fix them when you can access the back side, which normally you can't because there's insulation and there's walls. So like while we have the interior skins out and no insulation, like now is the time for the dents. So we thought we could show you what we got to do that.
The dent removal process.
Yeah, luckily, really all things considered, like Ramona's pretty good with dents. Like considering how old she is, like the dents are really quite minimal. Like that one that we went and looked at a few weeks ago, like the hail damage was serious, and
it's like a golf ball.
Yeah, and she has like there's a couple spots where, you know, maybe a little bit bigger of a dent, but I mean nothing like seriously crunched. Like you see these old Airstreams and you're like, oh, a tree must have fallen on that at some time, or did you back it up and forget that your house was there? Or, you know, like there's some serious crunch marks.
That said, I don't think I told you this yet, but I'm pretty sure there's an entire panel that was replaced on this.
Oh, really?
So that's interesting.
Well, that's fine. I'm glad they fixed it. Now we don't have to figure out how to.
Yeah, because you
do
can
that.
kind of tell like the color of it looks slightly different. But then also I was noticing this morning as I was in there that the rivets on the inside are different on that entire section.
I feel like that's really reassuring. Like there's a couple things that we've come to that are like, oh, looks like they did something to that. So the idea of that over time there was an owner that was fixing things as they needed repair, like that's good. That's better than, you know, thinking that whatever problems it had have been sitting for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
So that's good. All right, dents. Do you want to find what should we do? Do we find it on the outside and then go in?
Yeah, I guess so. I can see one here right now. Let's hone in on that bad boy. So there's one. I don't know if you can even see that. I can't even see this camera. The glare is so bad. There's one right here. Not very bad. But dent nonetheless. So, oh yeah, well actually there's a little bump right there in here, but then this whole thing, it's actually about this large that's kind of pushed in. So what we're gonna do is, it's two parts. One person is gonna sit on the outside with the hair dryer and heat up the metal, and what that does is it heats it up, but the metal expands and softens basically, so it's a lot more pliable and easier to work with. And then the other person will be on the inside, and we've got here, I'll just grab it. We've got a number of different dent tools that we picked up. This bad boy is one of them. So this has seemed to work out pretty well. But we'll just basically be on the inside and kind of rolling this over the dent. So
Very official Airstream tool.
official Airstream
Very
tools.
official. Okay, you want me to heat it
All
up?
right.
Do you want the tripod or something?
Yeah, do you want to be, where do you want the camera?
Maybe with you. I don't think hair drying is interesting to see what it looks like.
Okay. Yep. Give me that tripod.
I'll be the hair dryer.
Alright, and this is a tricky part. You gotta remember where the heck that thing was. So
Yeah.
it is, alright, right above that battery compartment. Cool. So you can kick that hair dryer on, start heating it up. There she goes.
Much easier work than belly pan removal.
So just kind of, circle it around that area. Yeah, just like this. And there. Got it? Alright. I'll take you inside where we'll try to push this bad boy out. What the heck is going on with this tripod? Is this lower? Oh, okay, something's happening. Alright. Let's get it in there. Challenge to work with. There we go. Alright. So, now we gotta find it, right? So here is that battery compartment. Here's the, ow, wow. Woo! Definitely is heated up. That burnt my finger. That was really hot. Alright, so, now, take this guy.
Mom doing it right there?
Yep.
Mom's doing it right there? Mm-hmm. What is that?
This is one way I found to be pretty effective, is just kind of rolling it back and forth on your hand. But also some of them we were using a mallet on the back and kind of pounding it out, which also worked, but it seems to be alright.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's weird. Oh my gosh. That's super weird.
That feels pretty good to me. It almost kind of feels like I pushed it out a little bit too far, to be honest. So I'm going to kind of go around the, not just in the dent, but it was kind of a circle. So I'm going to try to go around the edges as well. Just to flatten that thing out so the whole, thing doesn't just kind of concave back in. Inside gets a little stretched from this thing, but whatever. Alright, I think that's good. Take a look at what that looks like on the outside.
Daddy,
Yeah, Noah?
when you go at the Airstream show
Uh-huh.
and you loosen my skateboard,
Can I loosen your skateboard?
yeah, like the wheels, so you can just lean and then it turns.
Oh, your skateboard's already pretty loose. Loosen it a little more. Easier to
But
turn.
like, if it's
Right.
tight, you gotta like step on the back.
Lots of situations in between.
Well, I was just gonna tell you. So it's mostly all out. Like there's still a teeny bit of that dimple,
Oh yeah.
but
Okay.
it's really, really hot.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can see that. So the majority of that is out, but there definitely is that little dimple there. I don't know. So one thing I felt though, honey, is it looks like I almost pushed it out.
I thought I saw that at some point.
Out too much.
Yeah.
So here, let's come over here to my tool lab and let's get something. So this is the kit that we got. There's a number of different things in there. Maybe this guy. This little thing in the back. Kind of push. Give that a shot.
I should rubber band on that.
Also makes me nervous kind of pounding on this metal. You don't want to push it. This guy can work pretty good too. Alright. Head back.
Head back!
So I'm going to flip us around. And the one thing I want to do here is I want to try to just kind of push this. Ooh. Well, popped it back in. It's not what we were going for. So, the joy of removing dents. So I don't know what we're going to do with that guy. Let's try to get that dimple out at least. But I don't know if we're going to be able to pop that whole thing because it just pops right back out.
Well, you get the idea. You don't have to show them the whole thing. So, I think, too, another thing about the dents, which we haven't really talked about and come to a full conclusion, is how much we care about dents. So there is a big view of like, it's a vintage Airstream and small ones are beauty marks. Like some people are like, they just leave them. Like Airstream collectors they just leave them, where some people like want to perfect it and want it to look brand new and perfect. And that is kind of a fundamental difference of Tom and I sometimes, I think, is I'm more of like, oh, it's a mess. I love that. Like, I love imperfections and messes and flaws and like real deal, like, you know, like ladies that don't need to cover up the wrinkles and the gray hairs. You just leave them. So like vintage Airstream has age in life and dimples that show that she's lived. I don't really mind them. Where Tom is far more put together of a human than I am and likes things nice. I don't really care about if things are nice. So
I think with the Airstream though, there's a balance for sure. Like even some of the areas where the rivets are at, there's a little like what one might think of as a dent, right? It just is what it is. I think when even the like professional companies that restore Airstreams, most of them leave a lot of the like hail dents in there. That's just expected. You know, it's just kind of an expected thing with a vintage Airstream, that hail is just something that most people typically don't even fix. There's some big ones, obviously, that need to go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Why don't we show a couple of the big ones? Because ideally, by the next time we come on, we fix them.
Yeah.
So then you can have a little bit of a
one
before
that I have in mind
This
right
one
now.
up front is rough.
Yeah,
This is probably the most in need of repair. This is like you did a
Flip it
bad
around.
job hooking up the truck or something.
Yeah.
Not you, but like somebody ran into
This
something.
guy.
But,
Let's get a different angle here.
that
So
might be
you
more
can see it's
accessible
not
when you
round
subfloor
there. That's pushed in pretty good. And I'm kind of curious, we're gonna pull all this old caulk and beading and stuff off of here still, of course, since we pulled that trim piece off. But I'm curious, this is a pretty thick bead here, so I'm almost wondering like if there's a hole in that aluminum, and that's what they're trying. Well, here, I'll always pull some off and see what happens. Oh, well, I guess maybe not. I guess it doesn't look holeish.
Maybe it needed a thicker bead because it was so pushed in.
Oh yeah,
it
it's a
wasn't
good.
feeling like between the trim.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all gonna have to get scraped off. I don't see any hole there, but yeah, I think to Delmar's point, they probably put a thicker bead because it was pushed in so much that there's probably a gap in that trim. So this is a kind of a crazy thing. I don't know why the heck they constructed them like this, but as you can see, this panel comes down and then the banana wrap piece goes down and under, right? So you would think that that banana wrap would slide underneath here, and that way when water drips down the Airstream, it just keeps running down over the top. Well, that's not the case. So this is the shell, which obviously needs to go on first and be mounted, and these rivets are what hold the shell on. But then the banana wrap comes up and over the top of this. So water can literally just kind of go down and go right underneath the banana wrap and then under into the belly pan. And there's not like drain holes underneath that thing. So there's a trim that once you put the banana wrap on, the trim piece covers this. And then it's literally this bead of, it's not, I mean, it's a form of silicone, but it's that bead that seals it. So water doesn't get through there.
Right? Like checking all your stuff and making sure that it's like good on the regular.
Yeah, like we're gonna have to, I don't know.
So I think these front
guess there wasn't a better way to do it,
probably
but
the worst with dents, and like a lot of them are, you know, like little, like you could just consider them little beauty marks or whatever. But if we're gonna spend any time, like I feel like this and over here, there's the most of them, right? Like there's a lot of these little
so these guys, these little pits. So this is obviously in the front. There's
like a good
there's a ton of them right here, but that's from driving, you know, and it's little tiny rocks from road debris that are just getting kicked up and hitting the front of that. One thing I have seen some Airstreams have is they have those shields that basically I think they wrap around the whole front of this section, and it's to protect the whole front from.
Sound like it looks cute.
I think they look pretty neat.
Up
But yeah,
here,
you can see a bunch.
Yeah, this is like, there's some big stuff in here, so we'll work on repairing that. Up top, I worked on this dent a little bit last week, but it looks like I didn't finish it. I could do a better job, but that was pushed in. We can do a little bit more work up there.
See that
That's
guy
really
right there?
it. I mean, I don't care about obsessing about all the little ones.
Not much along the side here though.
No, it's really
pretty good.
We worked on this too, but there's a crease up there.
It's really pretty good. There's a big dent right here.
Oh yeah. See, like that one, like maybe these big, like ones that look like folds, like creases kind of. Like we can get out those, but for the most part, I don't care. I feel like we've been talking for a long time. I bet you our show's supposed to be over.
Yeah, what time is it?
Yeah,
Oh, it's 10:34. Holy moly, 4 minutes over.
See?
All right.
Well, that's our progress. So by the next time we meet, I said this last time and it didn't happen. So by next time, we would like to have the frame fully accessible and be working on the frame. That would be our next goal. And in the meantime, we'll do dents. We can do little things like taking off these emblems and more trim and stuff, just because that's stuff that has to be done. But frame is substantial. That's our foundation, and I feel like once we frame, then floor, like we'll really feel like a foundation is done and we're ready to go. I know, what is that thing?
I don't know, I've never realized.
So this, we discovered this. It looks like this like happy little bling gem of something, and I really want to know what it is. If anybody sees this show and is an Airstream expert, it's like, the kids are like, it's a little plastic crystal gem of something. A little purple diamond looking thing. I don't know what it is.
All right.
Bye! Bye!
That's all, folks.